Alright, so we're going to discuss MK1. And what are you looking at, bitch? Anyways, we're going to discuss MK1 and a bunch of different things. So first and foremost, the leaks that I saw recently, they don't look credible at all. The presentation of the guy whose name is Alucard, a reference to Castlevania series, um, he supposedly leaked the rest of the cameo fighters, the story, and the rest of the fighters in the base roster. And I don't think it's credible at all. First of all, the presentation isn't professional at all. He says that he has friends at NetherRealm, and I will say that the screenshots they do look pretty legitimate. However, he says that one of the characters is Shujinko, and I just don't see them going down that route at all. I really don't. Now, many people are probably going to say, well, Shujinko was referenced. I know he was referenced in Cassie's ending in MKX, and that's great and all, but I don't think he has that. Okay, this game so far to me has seemed like it's just fan service to a large degree. It doesn't really seem like they're trying to go for any sort of original idea, which I'm actually not opposed to, because NetherRealm's writing and new ideas through retcons are absolutely awful. They are awful, and it took a 4-hour long video essay before I actually understood the degree of just incoherence that these games have had. And the retcons are just like, they had no choice but to reboot the series, because they couldn't even get their own retcons straight and in order. And it took a literal reboot in order to rectify all the mistakes that they had made, because I think they had some sort of vendetta against Midway, even though most of the Midway employees came to work at NetherRealm, which it's basically just trying to prove that their balls are bigger than Midway's, even though they're not. They're absolutely not, because all the retcons that the series has tried to make with the NetherRealm's tried to make have been terrible. Like the Sindel retcon, for example. Listen, I can't even explain that well enough. There's this guy that I watch, and that's kind of what motivated me to make this video, the Fourth Snake. He absolutely just nails everything on the head when it comes to it. I've never seen somebody dissect a video game series so well before. But I don't think it's like, first of all, I just don't think the dude's credible, because he was using slang. He wasn't using capitalization, punctuation at all in his, and basically he was just like, to hold you guys over, I'm going to give you this picture of Shujinko and Motaro. First and foremost, Shujinko looked like Shang Tsung. He looked like Shang Tsung. And I see Shang Tsung, and I know that, Shujinko was an elder by the time that Deception was finished, but he looks exactly like Karihiro Kitagawa. I'm just gonna say that. And just another thing, I don't think Reiko is on the base roster. I don't think Serena is on the base roster. Like, if so far in this game, it seems as like, if a character has like a more simplified, they have a more simplified design, then they're a cameo fighter. I mean, look, it's apparent everywhere. It's apparent everywhere. Like, if you look at just in this game, Kano, Sonya, Jax, and Frost, they all have their 2D game outfits. Besides Frost, because Frost didn't appear until, was it Deadly Alliance? I think it was Deadly Alliance. She didn't appear until Deadly Alliance. With that being said, they kind of reverted it to a hypothetical what if. And Reiko just has his base design. Motaro has his base design. That makes me believe that neither one of them are going to be on the roster. Same thing goes for Serena. Same thing goes for Darius. Now, I will say that one thing that I've liked about this game so far, from what I've seen, is their 3D representations from Midway. It seems like fans have been wanting this for a good amount of time now, and they're listening to them. And I feel like this is kind of what the direction that they want to head in at this reboot. Now, as good as that sounds on paper, knowing NetherRealm, they'll find some way to fuck it up. First and foremost, I want to talk about Havoc. Havoc has been retconned to no longer live in the Chaos Realm, but live into the Order Realm, who has a vendetta against the Order Realm and wants to spread anarchy. I don't like this. And if it was any other writers who were in charge and any other company that were in charge of these characters, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But you see, it's NetherRealm, and NetherRealm finds a way to fumble the bag every single time they decide to retcon any of these characters. So instead of having something that actually makes sense, him being from the Chaos Realm, that's why he looks the way that he looks. He is all of a sudden from the he's all of a sudden from the Order Realm, and he is in the lower brackets of a hierarchy system. The lowest bracket of a hierarchy system. Of a caste, I think they said it was. It's just changing shit for the sake of changing it. And this is what NetherRealm is amazing at doing. But it's not benefited them one single time. They change shit for the sake of changing it, and it leads nowhere. In the leaks, it said that Geras and Chronica fuse together and become the final boss of the series. Now, first of all, if this were to happen, which I don't think it would, I can't give NetherRealm credit, because NetherRealm, when it comes to their stories, man, like, they have made pretty stupid fucking decisions. But people hated Chronica. No, I haven't heard a single person say anything good about Chronica. Not a single person. So they would have to be extremely fucking stupid to bring them back. I'm just gonna say that. It's not something that you can kind of sit on the fence about. There's no gray area there. You don't bring that character back, and there's no reason to. With all the characters that you can have in their stead, why would you ever bring back a character so hated? You have dozens and dozens of characters that you have not used correctly in years, decades. Chameleon, and other characters like these more obscure characters. Like, he even said Meat was on the roster, and that's when I really started. Like, I was suspicious at the beginning, because you always got to take these leaks with a grain of salt. But when he said Meat was on the roster, I was like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. Meat hasn't even been mentioned since like MK1, I don't think. So yeah, the leaks aren't credible to any degree, in my opinion. Now, of course, I could be true. Do I think I am? No, but you never, there is always a small chance that these can come to pass. As far as what the story is shaping out to be, now there was one thing that the leak did say that I thought, if this would be one of the only good things that would come to pass if they decided to do it, and it was changing how the story system worked. Now, everybody's familiar with the story system now. It's divided into chapters, and each game has about, I don't know, like a median of 12 chapters. Four fights per chapter. This has not worked out for them well at all. They can't make a clear narrative, because they have they have a, what's the word? They have a requirement for playing as certain characters. And here's the other big issue about it. It is wild to me how you don't get to play as certain characters on the roster. Some characters, in some instances, half of the roster you don't even get to play as in the story, making their inclusion practically pointless. That needs to change. Like, back then it didn't seem too absurd to me. Like, oh yeah, I mean, what does Reptile really have to offer? But now that exact question that I asked myself back then makes me realize, holy shit, this is why they're underutilizing their characters, because they okay, first and foremost, when you make somebody like Reptile a jobber, and a jobber being somebody that the main character can just beat on at any time and dispose of as if they're no challenge at all. That is all they are going to be. All they are going to be. Why fans would regard this character as anything special or want them to return in the series is shocking to me. And you don't want your fans to not feel that way. You don't want your fans to not care about a character because they're just a jobber, which Kano is, Reptile is, Ermac had been. The only thing notable Ermac has done since MK9 was rip off Jax's arms. Anything since then has been completely fucking... He hasn't done anything. Even Baraka, even a character like Baraka, and I know what people are going to say, well, MK11, he was a general. Yeah, but he still lost every fight he got into. And that's just not okay. Like in MK11, you didn't even get to play as Collector. You didn't get to play as Cetrion. You didn't get to play as Geras. That's three new characters that they introduced. You don't get to play as them. And MKX, you didn't get to play as Aaron Black. You didn't get to play as Ferrator. Another two characters that they introduced that you're not able to play as. And like for returning characters, it matters, but it's not as big of a deal because they are returning characters. But you can't just have characters on a roster where their only purpose is to lose and to be an antagonist. Mortal Kombat was never about black and white, good versus evil. The only time it ever came to that during the Midway series was at the end of Armageddon when there was the forces of light and forces of darknesses. And that's because the roster was 64 characters large. So that would be fine, simplifying the plot and the narrative because of the excess of characters available to the player. This is not fine now when the roster is a third of that size and the budget that they have now, which, by the way, the budget that they had in Armageddon, if I remember correctly and if I interpret it correctly, was smaller because at the time they were filing for bankruptcy. It's just a dated system. It's a dated system that they've been using since MK versus DC. And it doesn't work well. And their stories are nothing special at all since MK versus DC. Like anything that... And MK versus DC was Midway. It was Midway. But Midway, that's when they used the chapter system. And it's just okay, so I should get back to the leak. The leak had stated that MK1 would use a system where you would be able to draw from a pool of characters. And it said something like 6 characters, and there would only be a few dedicated sections of the game where you could only use one. And that's certainly a tremendous step up from what we had. Now, do I think that'll work? It could work. Do I think the chapter system can work? It can't. Not chapter system where it is based on a dedicated character and it is a mandate that they have to have. It's mandated that they have to have 4 fights per character, because it never flows well at all, and the narrative makes no sense. So with that being said, this is certainly a bigger step up. And I did not know how poorly MK11's story was disregarded until I had watched Backlash from it recently. And, you know, I think that was a real eye-opener to NetherRealm. Also, it should be an eye-opener that NetherRealm needs new fucking writers, because their writers are terrible. Not with everything. I'll give them the credit where the credit's due. Interactions between characters sometimes can be good, and they're written well sometimes. Like in MK11, interactions between Sonya and Cassie, Johnny, and this whole family like that they had some good moments. But for the most part, everything outside of that, and even sometimes involving that, is done poorly. I think MK9. I know MK9 was the best story that NetherRealm has produced, and a lot of people have their gripes with it, and they should, because it's not a perfect story by any means, and I'm not going to say it's a great story, but I can appreciate what they did when they needed to do it. And a lot of people hated that they killed off such a large amount of characters. I honestly, I don't know. That's one of the aspects why I like it. Something different. And it's something that modern NetherRealm would not do. And hasn't done since. Overall, I hope... They haven't really revealed much information about this game outside of characters and bios. We don't know hardly anything about the story. We don't know the full roster yet. We know a lot of the roster. We don't know the full thing. We don't know all the cameo characters. We don't know if there's a gear system or if it's costumes like it was in MKX and 9. We don't know if there are swappable moves like there was in MKX, or if there's variations like in MKX, or swappable moves like there is in MK11. There's a lot that we still don't know about the game, and it has me definitely very intrigued for what we can see. As of so far, though, I mean, from what I've seen, it has potential. There are certain things that I dislike about the game. Don't get me wrong. I think the cameo system is excessive. I've said that before. The designs for the characters are bland. Are they bad? No. Are they bland? Absolutely. They don't pop at all. Like Scorpion and Sub-Zero are the least recognizable that they have ever been in an MK game. And that is worrying. That is very worrying. Even somebody like Lee May. Like, I don't give a fuck about Lee May. I'm going to be honest with you. Am I glad that she's returned? Yes, because that means more 3 representation. But her design, boring. You know what I mean? Like, Johnny is a simple, but I think like it's meant to be simple. I don't know. Design-wise, I'm not super impressed. One thing that I'm going to add, and I think I'm going to wrap it up, is I hope that we see an abundance of stages in this game. And I hope that the roster layout stays something like this, because this is a fantastic roster layout. It's simple, and it doesn't need to be anything more than that. It's simple as shit. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. It stays on the more bland side, but is it an improvement from MK11? Fuck yes, it does. Fuck yes, it is. A few things that they could tweak right now would be the background. Like, each character should have a background. Instead of having this gradient gray, I'm not a fan of that. Gray is the most boring, neutral fucking color there is, and it's everywhere. It's like a grayish brown almost. Um, I just want character in life and the design of everything. You know, like you can see Sub Zero's name on the left right there, and then you can see Kenshi's. What if it had its different font? You know what I mean? And I know that this might be nitpicking, but these are appreciated. Fans appreciate this. Players will appreciate this. Do not gloss over these. Just don't. You know what I mean? Also, if you look at the select, you can see that there's a fire animation over every single one of the characters. It's pretty ironic when you see a fire animation over Sub-Zero. Just gonna say that. Why isn't there a lightning one for Liu Kang? Or lightning and fire? Or frost or snowflakes for Sub-Zero? Or the spirit for Kenshi? Or katana, like wind for Katana's fans? Or glasses for Johnny? Or whatever that purple dinosaur is for Li Mei. I don't know. It's nitpicky and it's minor for sure, but it would be appreciated. Honestly, not a whole lot more that I have to say about it. It's too early. Even though the game releases in less than a month, it's too early to. It's really too early to say how I think this is going to end up. I can't be for certain that it's going to be different. Do I think it's going to be? I will say I don't think it's going to be much more polarizing or alienating than the past NetherRealm games. I'm not going to give them that much credit. They haven't done anything to deserve that much credit. I will say that this design for the game is probably the most different that I've seen out of the game so far. The design is definitely it's polarizing, but not much else to say. The roster looks good. The roster looks very solid so far. I'm glad that the only character that they brought back from MK11 that was new was Gearus, and that's because I like Gearus. I thought he was a decent character and he has a lot of potential. Did they utilize him well? Absolutely not. Will they utilize him well this time? Probably not. Will they utilize most characters well that in this game? Well, if they're a quote-unquote bad guy, as childish as that sounds, but that's the way that NetherRealm operates. No. Are we going to do I think we're going to play as Havoc in the story? If it's going the way that I think, no. We won't play as Serena. We'll play as Reptile because he's a good guy in this game. Will we play as Baraka? Probably not. I don't know. People need to draw attention to the story. They think that this game has not, like, the story is an unimportant aspect about it. Couldn't be farther away from the truth. Are you okay, young man?
I was like 20 feet away from a guard on a motorbike and it still got me fucking thrown. Ah, it's such bullshit.
They just need to bring life to this. Also, I want good soundtracks for the games. I don't care if you have to copy soundtracks from Deception, Deadly Alliance, Armageddon. I don't care. Make a good soundtrack, because this music right here, I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's not notable. It's pretty generic. It's pretty boring altogether. MK is one of my favorite, if not my favorite series of all time. So I would appreciate it if you handled it with care. And if you do not know how to, then find somebody who does. And that's where I'm going to end that at.